I like lingered on the L to make him think I was going to say love.
I was just harsh, Stephen. I was just mean.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 35 of the Audiobook Club podcast. Today, I am joined with the usual guys. If you guys want to all say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
That's Jason, Stephen, and Jonathan with me today. And today, we will be talking about His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, read by Ruth Wilson. Did I get that correct?
Northern Lights, it's called.
Northern Lights.
Start
Sorry.
again.
It's the... Today we will be talking about Northern Lights, which is the first book of His Dark Materials, written by Philip Pullman, read by Ruth Wilson. Is that better? Only needed 2 tries, like a professional. So why did I pick this book? I picked this book, as I think I said at the end of the last episode, that this is one of my favorite books. It's in my top 10, I would say. I just really, really love this book. I think the way usually I said before that I like to break things down in terms of plot, character, and setting sometimes. And sometimes there's added elements you want to add to that. So in this case, I'm going to talk just a little bit about why I chose this and what I love about it. In terms of characters, what I really love about this book is I think Lyra is an excellent protagonist. I think she is very funny, and I love the fact that she is constantly lies. And I think she's such a spirited protagonist, and she's just very compelling to follow along with. I think she's that perfect blend between an active protagonist that's compelling, but without being like what we've talked about before, like being a Mary Sue, where the problems are too easy or anything like that. You feel like she is in genuine danger when things happen, but you also kind of trust her to find some kind of clever ingenuity to get herself out of it. And I think the in terms of the antagonists on this, I think Mrs. Coulter is probably like the main antagonist in this book, and I think she is very menacing. What I really like about her is that usually in like young adult fantasy, you get like the mustache twirling kind of bad guys who just want to be evil because they're evil. I like that she's quite complex in her views, and she's justified within her head, but she's still completely imposing. And the magisterium and the oblation board, which she represents, are these huge forces within this book. But not only those, you also have this colourful array of characters like Yorick Bernenson and Serafina Pecola, Lord Asriel, and Lee Scoresby. And I just think like all the characters that you meet throughout this book, you know, there's such richness to them within such a short span of knowing them. And I think that is part of what makes this so endearing. Onto the plot part of it, I think the plot is very well paced. When I was writing my summary notes, as we'll get onto it when I break these down, something like we've had books before where we've broke them down, and you guys will know this, that we've done it where it's like, oh, in that chapter, nothing really happened. You know, in this book, when I was writing my notes, there was like something major every single chapter. There was like a way the story twisted or something happened, and we'll get to that when I do my breakdown of that. But at its heart, the plot is really like an adventure tale, kind of a rescue mission of children going to find the lost children. So it's quite a simple plot on its surface, but I think the complexity then comes from the character, and then finally the rich world building that Philip Pullman implements. The world that we're introduced here is like a parallel universe. It's a different world to our own, but it's got a lot of overlap and a lot of similarities but there's a lot of magical things going on here. There's the armored bears, there's the witches, there's the Egyptians, and all of these cultures, they're never like these surface level things either. There's always such development and such good background, I think, brought on in such a short book for only a 13-hour book, and within the epic fantasy genre that is quite short and quite lean. I think Philip Pullman does an excellent job, and there's other aspects of this book on top of those three elements too. The theme is obviously a big part of this book, and part of what made this controversial when it was first released is that it's quite an anti-religious, anti-organized religious kind of slant on the fantasy genre, which isn't very typical because obviously the two titans of fantasy, Narnia and Lord of the Rings, are quite pro-religious, especially Narnia. That's extremely, like, it's allegorical nearly, and its favourable view of religion. And obviously, you know, the Oblation Board and the Magisterium are like the bad guys in this, and that obviously caused quite a lot of controversy about this book, and especially when the movies were coming out. And another aspect, just the fifth aspect, that where I think this is such a good book, is Philip Pullman's writing style. I think his prose is absolutely phenomenal. I think the economy with the way he tells things, that he can make a setting or a character be evoked in such sparse and just a little bit of a description. I think it's so wonderfully done, and it really gives that pacing its unique quality, because I honestly think this could have easily been like a 16, 17, 18-hour audiobook, but because Philip Pullman he can ground the description so quickly, I think that's why he manages to do so much within that shorter time span. But anyway, that's the reason that I like the book, and that's the reason why I picked it. Going on to the next section, what did you guys know about this book prior to me picking it?
Yeah, in terms of the book, I'd never actually heard of the book. You had, I think it was you maybe, that mentioned about the TV show before, and it was just on my to-watch list because of that. I never knew anything about it. Although before, I didn't actually know that this was, you know, The Golden Compass was the movie. I remember when that came out, it was supposed to be this big, great movie with a good cast and all, and it was a big flop. I think I only seen like half of that movie, I think, back in the time, but whenever we were doing the guess and all, I didn't actually know that this was this movie, or related to this movie. I guess what I knew about it was about the bears, something to do with the bears and like being in the north and being cold, and it was this girl and this bear's journey, purely based on what I'd seen from The Golden Compass. But yeah, I didn't know much else, and I'd never got around to watching the TV show. So yeah, that's kind of all I knew about it beforehand. Yeah,
Stephen, same question to you.
Yeah, I didn't know. I knew next to nothing about it before we listened to it here. I can remember one time very vividly of a few of us sitting in the Ritz bar and you telling Jason about it, I think it was, the TV show. But other than that, I knew nothing about it.
Yeah, same question to you, Jason.
So is that why I watched the TV show?
I think so.
I actually don't remember Michael telling me about it, but I would probably believe that it was you that did tell me about that. Yeah, I think I didn't take part in the guessing game because I had said I had watched the first few episodes of the TV show, so I had a rough idea of the start of the plot. I had a rough idea how things started. I didn't know anything really about how things ended in this book. I suppose my experience being the TV show, I think I maybe know a bit about like how the plot goes forward in the other books, which I suppose we can expand on a wee bit, because I think it introduces characters that aren't necessarily in the first book in the TV show. Maybe they're not in the books at all.
I would say
but
the second biggest character in the series isn't even in this book, it's quite interesting to think about.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming that's the character I'm talking about then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose so. I had maybe a bit of a mixed view of what the book was going to be, because I was expecting maybe slightly more otherworldly adventures, but that's maybe jumping ahead of it. So just on to the guessing game then from last time. Jonathan,
you had mentioned that you thought it was children going to like an Arctic kind of region to look for the dark materials. You had mentioned, you talked about, you kind of said it looks like a stopwatch. When Stephen kind of took over, he observed more the kind of the runes within the thing, and he kind of he was getting at similar. So you were the one actually said this, the thing about Johnny Depp's compass, but Stevens seemed to have been getting at something like that comparison before you mentioned that, and Stephen said that it would point to the dark materials. Neither of those are completely spot on, but there's like the guts.
It has to give it to Johnny, to be honest.
There's the guts of the guesses within there, and yeah, I think I said after that I knew who'd won, and I actually didn't mean you at the time, Stephen, but when I re-listened, I kind of forgot what Jonathan said
Yeah,
at that
I think
when I
the
said
children bit has to win it, right?
When I re-listened, I kind of changed my mind a bit on it, so I do think I'm slightly siding with Jonathan, but I think they were both decent guesses.
I'm okay with that.
Cool.
Adam, straight on changing the score.
Well, that's my job, but I also have to make sure it's done when I scored it.
Okay, so we'll get on to everybody's thoughts then of the book then. Jason, I'm going to start with you. I think you were probably expecting me to start with you because last episode you revealed that you were probably going to pick this book for your next book. And also I think because the other two that didn't really know anything about the series, I think it's probably better to go to them after you. So I'll get your thoughts first on what you thought of listening to this audiobook.
Yeah, so as I say, apart from maybe those first few episodes, I didn't really have much clue about the book. I realised that the narrator was obviously the actress in the TV show. I think overall I had a good time with the book. I do think I probably have some things to nitpick with the book. I maybe don't think it is as good as you think it is, Michael, unfortunately. But I would still say overall I've had a positive experience. I do probably see myself continuing the series in future. I felt it was a well written book, as you say. I had no issues with that. I thought it was probably paced quite well. I felt I didn't feel the plot was like particularly difficult to follow, which I think sometimes is a bit more obvious in an audiobook format. Sometimes we can get a wee bit lost when we're listening to it rather than when we're reading the written word. Sometimes find that it's just a lot easier to get sort of lost with an audiobook, but I didn't think I was having any issues with that. Hence why I feel like it is a wee bit easier to follow. I don't know if the other two will disagree with me. I have sort of said there I felt like it was well paced, although I still would maybe say that I felt some parts were like a little bit boring at the same time. I don't know if that is maybe contradicting myself a wee bit to say it's well paced but also probably boring at times, but as I said, overall probably I would say a positive experience with the Northern Nights. Yeah, no,
that's no problem. Jonathan, I'll go to you next then. What did you think of the audiobook?
Yeah, like I kind of agree with a lot of what Jason just said. I think it was very easy to follow and listen to in terms of just the cover a bit of Ruth Wilson narrating. I thought she did a very good job. I think particularly because two of the main characters in this are females, obviously the one that she plays in the TV show and Lyra herself. I thought like some of her old people voices, like John Farr and things like that, were just okay, weren't amazing. I think it is harder for a female to do male voices than the other way around usually. But I thought she did a good job overall. But going back then to it, Jason, I wouldn't say I find bits boring. I would just say there was a lot of not exciting parts, if that makes sense, if that's some way different. I didn't find myself going like, God, I just can't wait until this is over. But there is bits where, it's like really intense and things like that. But then there's some bits as well where you're just, I don't know, you're getting a lot of like dialogue or like a lot of Lyra's struggling with whatever issues she has, but it's not really that exciting. But I mean, overall, I liked the book. I thought it was a nice story. I really want to get onto talking about demons and have the question of what your demon you'd want your demon to settle as. But we'll get to that in a bit. So I really like that. I really liked all the mystery surrounding the dust and stuff. There was like this religious / scientific, like this kind of combination, as you kind of get a lot in real life behind dust. I think I watched the first few episodes of the TV show. I didn't get it finished, but it was just more to rehash those starting episodes or the starting part of the book as well. But I think that, yeah, like that character you was talking about, that's not a main character, I think that kind of ruined it a wee bit for me in terms of what's happening, because you cannot see where this is leading to. Whereas I don't think if I hadn't watched that, I would still not really know what is going on, to be honest. But I guess we can reveal that because that's kind of a major spoiler. I don't even know if we want to talk about that at any point in this, because it is maybe for the next book to talk about. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a decent book, and I did enjoy listening to it. But yeah, it wasn't my favorite book ever or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I suppose we'll drill down to it more when I break down it chapter by chapter. What parts you thought were slower. Stephen, I'll go to you then. What was your thoughts overall on the book?
I loathed it. I couldn't get into it at all. I thought there was I thought it was very tropey. Like, there were a load of fantasy concepts just thrown at a wall. And when you were giving yours, kind of why you picked the book, Michael, you sort of mentioned about how things were. I was going for that, Jason, where I said I lingered on the L to make him think I was going to say love.
I was just harsh, Stephen. I was just mean.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought there was a lot of fantasy concepts just thrown at like a blackboard and just all sort of pieced together. I found, like you were saying, Michael, on your why you picked the book, you kind of touched about how like everything's so tightly. Didn't you said something like, you know, all the plot points are all kind of tight, and it kind of, there's twists every chapter. There's something new every chapter. I didn't really like that, because I couldn't really get to grips with one thing before we moved on to the next thing. You know, I don't really want to go into that too much because I think it's spoilers. But yeah, there's too much going on, but at the same time there wasn't a lot going on. Like, it felt very slow, the whole book, for me. I didn't feel any of the fast pace that the guys were talking about, and yeah.
I did not think you would, Stephen, which is why I went to you last.
Yeah.
So I love how we can tell.
I don't know why. I just, as I went, Jason, the only one I'm surprised by is Jason. I thought Jason would have really liked it. But,
so did I, Michael.
As I went through it, like I can kind of tell now. I kind of know. Jonathan's actually more positive than I thought he would be. I thought he would be like very meh. And Jason's not as positive as I thought he would be. But I don't know if you guys get this now, but you can kind of, when you're going through it, you're like, they won't like this or they won't like that.
Yeah.
But we'll drill down to it anyway. I'll break it down, because I really strongly disagree that the book is slow or boring at parts, because I think so much happens in this book. The way that this book is broken into three books, three different distinct parts, we sort of drifted into breaking things down in 5s or 6. So I've broken the first part down into 2, and I've broken the second part into 2. So I'll do the first part of the first book first. So part 1 is titled Oxford. So chapter 1 in that part is The Decanter of Tokai. And we begin the story with a young girl named Lyra, who's rushing through the halls of Jordan College in Oxford. She's interacting with something called her demon, a thing called Pantalaimon, that appears to change form. And as we go through the story, we slowly learn that everybody has demons. Children have demons that can still change shapes, but the adults have like demons that are like a fixed form. And we kind of get it hinted at that they're like the physical manifestation of a person's soul. So Lyra enters the retiring room and she hides in a wardrobe. And that's when she sees someone putting powder into the decanter. And she deduces that this is poison meant for Lord Azrael. So we get small hints that this is not a normal world. There's, instead of talking about electrical lights, it's called ambaric lights, for example. Lord Azrael is here and he's been to the north doing some kind of work or some research, and we hear a lot of tension about wars. Lyra quickly intervenes before he can drink the decanter, basically averting the assassination attempt. Lord Azrael spills the decanter. He makes it seem like a porter's done it, and he tells Lyra to stay in the wardrobe, basically to eavesdrop on the meeting that's going to happen in the next chapter. So chapter 2, the idea of the north. In this chapter, Lord Azrael shows a slideshow photogram, which is another new word to distinguish this world from our own. And he has it under a special emulsion, and he shows like a picture of the Northern Lights, and within this there's a city. And he talks extensively about dust, and then he pulls out like a decapitated head with like a hole within it, like kind of pointing to trepidation, which is like a practice which happens has happened like historically in our world as well. There's a lot of talk about like the Panzerbjorn and the Tartars, but a lot of it's going over Lyra's head because she's not aware of what a lot of this means. Lyra falls asleep. Lord Azrael opens it, and he confirms that he is going to the north to investigate the matter. We then get a scene where the Master and the librarian are speaking of the failed assassination. There are mentions of the church, the oblation board, the alethiometer, a lot of foreshadowing about elements that are going to come into play. But it's revealed that the Master's main motivation was actually to keep Lyra safe. So there's a bit of ambiguity of whether these are actually evil figures or if they're on Lyra's side. So chapter 3, Lyra's Jordan, we get a lot of background about the children's politics and the workings in the city. We hear about Lyra going along rooftops and all her misdeeds involving raiding Egyptian boats and stuff like that. Then we hear about children going missing. We get a scene with Tony being abducted by a beautiful woman and a golden monkey. Other children are there too and never seen again. A lot of they're like promised to write letters, but then we see that the letters are burned, and the kids call them gobblers, and they tell all sorts of stories about them. Lyra and Roger explore underground college, and they get drunk together. Roger doesn't like it, and Lyra stubbornly insists that she does like it because she wants to be like more grown up. They also explore the crypts, and Lyra tells a funny story about how Lord Azrael killed someone just by looking at him, and killed someone else to teach him a lesson, which always gets a laugh for me. She switches the demon coins around, and then Pan turns to a screeching bat because that upsets him, so we realise it's some kind of blasphemy. Lyra goes to the wharf and she sees Ma Costa, Egyptian woman whose boat she raided. Egyptian child called Billy is missing. They think it's the gobblers and argue about who knows the most about them. Then they go searching for Billy, a big group of them. Lyra is in awe of like this older boy who spits the furthest and asks him. It occurs to her then to check on Roger if the gobblers are in the area. There's no sign of him in the kitchen, and then she sees a zeppelin, which is a common mode of travel within this world as well, leaving, and she fears the worst. She recalls something about a child being severed in Lord Azrael's presence. She then meets some people from the women's college, including Miss Coulter, who has a golden monkey demon. And then chapter 4, the alethiometer. Lyra's future at Jordan College is discussed, and eventually she agrees to be Mrs. Coulter's assistant before she leaves for London, and the Master gives her an alethiometer and tells her to keep it secret from Mrs. Coulter. She goes on the Dawn Zeppelin and then gets to Mrs. Coulter's flat, where it has this lovely decor, and she's given all these lovely clothes. She starts to study the alethiometer symbols, but she's not sure what it's for and what its connection is to Lord Azrael. So that's basically the first part of part 1. So I'll go to you first again, Jason. What was your thoughts on the book at this point?
Yeah, I was just making a few notes there as you were going through that. I quite liked the opening, and just as you were sort of going through things there, like the initial start, like just Lyra running through the introduction to the demons, the sort of lore around that, and the souls and everything like that. I quite liked the character of Lord Asriel when he was introduced here. And then just as you were sort of naming a few other people there, I've actually just realised, like, I actually liked probably all the characters in this book. I don't think I had any issues with any characters. I felt like they were all quite well written, especially this first stage. Lord Asriel, Miss Coulter, we've met some of the Egyptians, not quite all of them yet, but I felt even Roger is quite a good character to begin with, quite strong to begin with. And we sort of get a bit of Lyra's personality, as you sort of said. Like she likes to pretend she's a bit more mature than maybe she actually is, which is maybe sometimes to her fault. But I did like the opening of this book, definitely. I thought it was a very strong opening. I was very much hooked in from that.
Yeah, no problem. Same to you, Jonathan.
Yeah, again, kind of agreeing with Jason. I thought all the characters we're introduced to are all quite interesting, especially I think Lord Asriel definitely kind of got the most mystery about him. I quite like the character of Lyra, although there's points where I do find they're quite annoying, and we'll maybe cover more of those in future. I think it's more just because she's that character, she wants to be grown up and she wants to be involved in everything. And then there's other times then when she wants to be a child, like she doesn't want her demon to settle, as what happens whenever they get older and stuff like that. So she gets a bit annoying for me for some things, but I still think she's a good protagonist. The character of Mrs. Coulter, I think, was an excellent character throughout. We'll cover more in this next chapter about her, so I won't say too much here, but yeah, I just thought she was an excellent character. I liked that this kind of started with this assassination plot, although you don't really know why, because to our eyes it's seemingly a good man trying to poison another good man, and we don't really know why, and apparently it's to protect Lyra, but we don't really understand. So I like the mystery around that. Yeah, I thought it was quite a strong opening, a lot of mystery, I really liked another one is the Egyptians, the whole idea of the Egyptians. Basically, they're obviously this play on, Irish travellers, gypsies as they're called, and these are like these boat-going people who live on their boats. So I thought it was quite a cool spin on that. But yeah, it's obviously like they're the kind of, they're the working class, but they're rising up to fight against this great evil. And they go on this, they're part of this journey as well that Lyra goes on. I really loved them, their involvement in this story. But yeah, I thought it was quite a strong opening, and yeah, I had no issues at this stage.
Same to you, Stephen.
Yeah, I did have issues with this bit. This is the slowest bit for me. The assassination plot at the start, it had me wondering why they tried to kill him, but then they just went along with everything he said anyway. It was a bit weird. I don't know, confused me a bit. The demon stuff, I thought, yeah, okay, this magical world, there's demons, that's pretty cool. I would like one to talk to sometimes. But then most of the rest of the stuff about her going around the school and all that, I just wasn't interested at all. I just wanted to move it on to find out about Dust, because obviously that's what what we're leading to here, right? So to get introduced to the main thing and then just have that stolen away from me was well annoying. And then I had to go around with all the childish stuff with Lyra. I didn't like it. Then the alethiometer, I don't know whether to talk about it now or later, but yeah, maybe a bit now. So from the get-go, I knew this was going to be some sort of MacGuffin type device where it's it's the magical compass that's in the picture of the cover, and it's going to be the way of advancing the plot over and over. And yeah, I had to wonder why the master decided to give it to her without telling her what it was. It seemed very, I don't know, like a ham-fisted way of getting a magical device into the hands of the protagonist,
Yeah, no problem. No, that's grand. We'll go on to part one, the second part of part one then. So still in the Oxford part, chapter 5 is the cocktail party. So Mrs. Coulter educates Lyra, but their relationship turns. Pan points out that Lyra is more like her pet, and she soon comes to agree. They get into an argument, and the gold monkey attacks Pantalaimon, which causes Lyra pain. At the party, Lyra overhears some things about the ablation board and dust, and how adults have a lot of dusts and kids don't. A journalist questions her and gets kicked out. She talks to Lord Boreal and pieces together some things, like the kids are being taken to the north to be sacrificed. She overhears Lord Asriel is being kept captive by armoured bears in Svalbard. She talks and hears the oblation board and gobblers are the same, and she and Pan run away. And then in chapter 6, The Throwing Nets, Lyra wanders the streets and a man buys her coffee and offers her brandy. She tells him her father is a killer, and to scare him away, she scares him and says that, he shoots lasers or whatever, and he runs away. She comes to the wharf and sees Egyptian boats, is captured by 2 Turk traders and saved by the Egyptians. Then the Egyptians kill them, and she sees that the demons fade when they're killed. The Egyptians are heading north to get Billy, and Lyra wants to come with them to get Roger. Chapter 7, John Fa. Lyra meets John Fa, the king of the Egyptians, and Father Coram, who's like his companion. She's worried about her boat raid, and they both laugh and reveal how it's like this known story among the Egyptians, and they all tell it fondly. They tell Lyra that Lord Asriel is her father and Mrs. Coulter is her mother. Lord Asriel killed Mrs. Coulter's husband while Lyra was hidden with Egyptian. Because he was protecting his family, Lord Asriel was stripped of his wealth. Lyra was brought up in a priory, but went to Jordan instead. All the scholars loved her, and the master only wants to protect her, is revealed in this as well. Speculate he may have been poisoning Lord Asriel for the good of the world. There's some theories of that. I think it's Father Coram who mentions that. She shows them the alethiometer, and they say how they're not sure how to use it, but the symbols all have layers of meaning. So they talk about like how if it hits something like 3 times, it might mean something than if it hits it once. Chapter 8, Frustrations, is one of the shortest chapters in the book. It begins with Lyra trying to read the alethiometer. Then John Fa speaks to the heads of the Egyptian families as they mobilise a force to go north. They go in private to speak about details, and Lyra interrupts, insisting she should go north, as they might need kids, and she's starting to learn the alethiometer. John Fa insists she can see north when it's all over. And then chapter 9, The Spies. Jacob dies, and Lyra is taken with the force. On their journey, she is getting better at controlling and reading the alethiometers, bit by bit. A little clockwork spy flies at them, and then they trap it in a box. And they reveal like how there's no stopping it. It's like this kind of little unstoppable device that even if they put it at the bottom of the ocean years later, it would burrow through the kind of tin. Lyra realizes that the alethiometer did warn them about it, but she didn't understand the meaning at the time, and so she just pieces it together afterwards. And then they begin the journey to the north, and that's the end of the part 1. So I'll go to you again first, Jason.
So again, part 2, sort of from the cocktail party, and the sort of interactions initially with Mrs. Coulter and the evil, well, I'm saying evil, maybe it's not, but the golden monkey. I did find that sort of section quite tense, kept me on the edge of my seat, especially the sort of heel turn, I suppose, from the monkey and Mrs. Coulter. I liked Lyra running away, meeting the Egyptians. I sort of mentioned I quite liked the characters generally, so I had enjoyed the sections with John Fa and Fatty Coram as characters, although I would maybe say I found the learning the alethiometer maybe just dragged on a little bit for me, but I suppose it is a very important part of the story and the plot, so I suppose there has to be, I suppose, some sort of element of her learning to read it. I suppose, yes, my gripe is it maybe took a wee bit long, but I suppose my gripe would probably be she's a bit of a Mary Sue if she picked it up straight away. I suppose you could make the argument she picked it up quite quickly anyways, and because it's something that's supposed to be very, very difficult to read and take a long time to read.
You wanted a montage?
No, I don't know. I've sort of just rambled a wee bit to sort of fight against my own argument. But yeah, again, a good section, but I think, as I say, my main gripe was maybe just the alethiometer part slightly. I liked the reveal about Lyra's parents, who they were. I felt that I liked the reveal about who Lyra's parents were. I felt like that just added an extra sort of layer to the plot about Lord Asriel and Mrs. Coulter being her parents, especially after what we've learned about Mrs. Coulter. We sort of have the impression that she is the sort of villain of the story at this point, because I'm pretty sure it's revealed she's like sort of head of the Gobblers as well in this section. So yeah, good section, maybe just that one gripe with the alethiometer.
Yeah, same to you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I think I like the start of this section that you described, the whole thing with working with Mrs. Coulter. Few slow bits, but then there was also this weird tension that kind of kept building throughout it with the monkeys, especially. Like, you kind of, with Lyra, you kind of, it seems too good to be true almost, that she's just like got out of there. I mean, she's essentially an orphan and getting to like go to the city and potentially get to do the traveling she's always wanted to do. Yeah, it just seemed a bit too good to be true, so it's good then that you kind of get little glints of Mrs. Coulter actually not being that nice. I think there's a bit where she snaps at her because Lyra doesn't want to dress differently for the party. But yeah, I think when she escapes, I like the whole escape that she getting away, and like it's because of this journalist kind of revealed that Mrs. Coulter was like one of the leaders of the Gobblers and all. And it's the kind of the General Oblation Board, so that's where they get the GOB out of. I like that whole reveal. I thought then just like kind of the stuff with the Egyptians, all the way I like the Egyptians, the idea of them. I think the whole stuff was a bit, like I said, I wouldn't say it was boring. It was definitely interesting, but the pace just really retracted for a while until they kind of get to the north, and that stuff goes on. It is kind of just like a bit where they're kind of calm down a bit and reflect and all that. I'm not really sure why I didn't enjoy it as much. I think I feel like Jason's the same here. Like, I wanted to really enjoy it, and I'm trying to find reasons that I wanted to, because there's a lot of good ideas here that I really did enjoy. It just didn't all work together for me. I like the alethiometer. I think I don't have any issues with that, with Lyra learning or anything like that. I like that. It's almost like the way she learns it is just the way a kid kind of like, it's like this symbol probably means this, and like it kind of seems very simple, and I think that's why like the adults really struggle, because they try and overcomplicate it. But yeah, I think I really like the idea of it, like kind of telling her, is it like the future, or not even the future, kind of just tells her what's going on, or basically tells her anything, tells her the truth, I think is the way it's described. So yeah, I think all this part was okay just for me. I think it gets a bit better for me then when they get to the north. The reveal, I like the fact that Lord Asriel and Mrs. Coulter was her father and mother, but I think that this it should have been left a wee bit longer. I think like I would have liked to get more kind of tension, or more fear from Mrs. Coulter, because I think she lost a little bit of her scariness for me. Like, I thought if you didn't know it was her mother and she was like hunting Lyra, that would have been a bit scarier for me. But then the fact that it was her mother, although I know she's not a great person and she doesn't really seem to care about Lyra, I feel like, yeah, she's not going to hurt Lyra because it's her mother. That might not necessarily be true, but yeah, just I wish they had held on to that big reveal a little longer. But yeah, overall, I've just thought this part was okay.
Yeah, no bother, Stephen.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what bits and pieces of what both of the guys said. I didn't like the reveal that they were her parents. Oh, for one reason in particular, is that Asriel is introduced as her uncle at the start. Why? Why can't he just be her father the whole time, and then Mrs. Coulter is the reveal? It doesn't sit right with me. Didn't like it. But the reveal that she was the mother, it was good. And I was waiting for something to happen. Obviously we know that she's got a golden monkey, and we know that a woman with a golden monkey has been abducting children, so I knew that she was going to be a bad character, because you can't be good if you're kidnapping kids, right? But yeah, I think what Jason was saying, it's kind of a bit slow here at points. Could be wrong, but yeah, I found it a bit slow. I didn't have a problem with the learning the alethiometer. I just kind of have mainly the way that she received the thing, and like its importance later on just seemed very forced or something. Otherwise, I think I agree with the guy.
So we go on to part 2 then. So part 2, the first half of Bolvangar. Chapter 10, the consul and the bear. So we spend some time on the ship, and they come onto land. They intend to meet witches, and Father Coram has history with one of the witches, saving one once. He speaks to a consul regarding what he knows, and he suggests they seek the services of an armoured bear. Lyra tells them what the Tartars are going to do with the alethiometer. Lyra and Coram, they go in search of the bear and find Yorick Bernenson drinking spirits and eating meat. He says he will join their campaign if they get his armour back. So that leads us to chapter 11, armour. A ghost demon appears from the northern light. Lyra realizes it's Seraphina Pecola's demon, as witches can be separated from their demons. The demon explains how the bears hold Lord Azrael captured by orders of the Oblation Board, and that he may intend to build a bridge into the other world. The ghost tells them that the witches are split on sides, and it's not as simple as them all joining to one or the other. Tells them that the compound where the kids are being kept is guarded by Tartar soldiers. Lyra goes and meets Lee Scoresby, an aeronaut playing cards with Egyptians. She goes to meet Yorick then, and temporarily gets separated from Pan, and she kind of describes the pain and the fear. And she tells the armoured bear that the armour is under the priest's house. He gets it and is pursued. He takes the armour off and he goes in to get a seal. And then Lee Scoresby points a pistol at those that had pursued him to protect, with the intention of protecting the armour. And Yorick rips the seal open and he compacts the arm with blubber. Chapter 12, The Lost Boy. Lyra reads the alethiometer and it tells her about a ghost haunting a nearby village. She insists on going, as it may be important. So she rides Yorick across the tundra towards the village, and she sees the witches and the sky are all heading north. The villagers are quite distressed at what they found. Pantalaimon inspects the fish house, and he becomes extremely distressed, and he tells Lyra to run away. Then somebody tells Lyra that the boy is not the only one like this, that he's the other one, that there's others in the forest. So Lyra finally enters to see what they're talking about, and she finds out what the Oblation Board is doing to the kids. She sees the little boy hugging the fish because he has no demon. Then chapter 13, fencing. Lyra sleeps, and when she wakes, John Fa reveals that Tony, the little boy that they found, died. It was also the little boy that we saw abducted by them near the start of the book. One of the crew members fed his fish to the dogs, and Lyra is extremely angry about this. She engraves Radar onto a coin and puts it in Tony's mouth, just the way the Jordan scholars get in their crypts. On their way, Lyra asks Yorick about Svalbard bears, and he reveals that he was banished for killing another bear. He tells her about the king and warns Joffer, and warns her that she can't trick an armoured bear. So to exhibit this, he asks her to fence with her, and she can't get past his guard. He has ways of seeing the world, and she talks to Lee Scoresby about whether they could fly Yorick, and talks about the Tartars making holes in their heads. She learns that they do it to each other, and Graham was living among them. That was the guy who we saw the severed head at the start, so he was actually with them. He wasn't a captive. And then she fell asleep, and we're left with the last line as every hour they drew closer to Bolvangar. and that's the first part of Bulvanger. So I'll go to you first there, Jason.
Again, as I sort of previously mentioned, I quite liked the new characters that introduced, so I quite liked meeting Yorick, and I quite liked meeting Lee Scoresby. Again, felt Yorick gave a bit more sort of, well, it was obviously like a bit more royalty and properness to the book, and also we know he's just a big kick-ass bear, so that's just a bit exciting. Lee Scoresby, I felt, brought like a little bit of excitement. He was a bit more of a wisecracking character almost. I felt the scene or the chapter about getting Yorick's armor, again, maybe it was just a little bit on the slower side for me. However, once he's got his armor and him and Lyra sort of venture out to find this abandoned child, I felt that section was quite grim. You know, this child sort of hugging on to the fish, and I think like the way they describe find him, he's like huddled right in this corner, and I think there's like stuff hanging from the ceiling from memory, and it paints quite a grim picture. And then also we find out that he dies later on. So this is sort of, I think there really was a dark tone. I suppose there are children being captured, but when this kid then dies, I think it really does turn up the sort of the threat a notch. It does sort of let you know that it's maybe not just quite a kiddies book. You know, things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen, and there will be consequences of these bad things that do happen. So yeah, that was what I thought of that section.
Yeah, no bother. Jonathan?
Yeah, again, I really liked all the characters that have been introduced here. Yeah, like Lee Scoresby, Yorick Byrnison. I think again, this part wasn't the most exciting part. As Jason used a good word there, the whole thing of the child was extremely grim. And again, I think this is trying to create the sense that, you know, they're out here in the north, out in the tundra. They have no idea where they're actually supposed to be going. They're looking for these kids, but they don't know. So it did really create this sense of them being lost. Yeah, and like I think again what Jason said there was quite a good point, that the fact that this child dies kind of ups the stakes here. It's kind of, you know, I get the sense that maybe not everything's going to be right, because usually when you have kids involved, you're kind of like, yeah, I mean, they're all going to make it to the end, like they're not going to kill kids, but I mean, obviously they are. So it kind of says maybe that you're not thinking this for the main character, but then a lot of the reason that the Lyras want to go here is to look for a friend Roger and stuff. So you're like, well, I mean, he could just be killed at any stage. Same with the kids, the Egyptian kids that they're looking for. So yeah, it does add this kind of this scariness almost to it. The image of the child, you know, clutching the fish and wondering, you know, where his actual demon is, even though he thinks this is his demon. It's very grim and also a bit scary. Like, because I was kind of thinking, you know, why are the people, you know, in the village that's where the wee boy's hiding in the wee hut or whatever, they're kind of like afraid of him, and they want Lyra to get rid of him essentially. I'm like, why he's not helping this child and all? But then I'm like, well, if you've seen this fucking freaky child clutching this fish and all, like asking after this demons that he doesn't have and all, yeah, you'd be pretty freaked out. Like, so maybe you wouldn't want to be going there. But yeah, I thought yeah, this was quite a dark section, and although it was a bit slow still, I thought it was better than the previous section that we talked about. And yeah, it's kind of at this part now with Yorick Byrnison having his armor and stuff, and you get a lot more action with him. And then the next bit as well, I think, with Lyra, where she goes, which you will talk about in a bit. Yeah, I think that bit really picks up for me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about that. But yeah, just another grand chapter for me.
Yeah, no bother, Stephen.
I think this was the part of the book that I enjoyed the most. I don't think it was exciting necessarily, but it was the most captivating for me. I think I would echo a lot of what Jason said, really. Yeah, including the part about you know, getting the armor. That was the only part that I had trouble with, but it was fine. There was only one thing that I wanted to nitpick on, and it's not really a nitpick with the plot, because it does work. It's more so how the concept was introduced, right? So It's the demons where you know how I think it's Pantalaimon tries to go through a gate or something, and they talk about how the demons can't go so far away from their human, basically, right? And then a couple paragraphs later, it seems that, and it's told to us that, like, as if it's the narrator telling us that that's a thing that everybody knows, right? And then a couple paragraphs later, this goose demon appears with no human, and I'm like, why did you say that first bit for? Do you know? It was a bit discordant. It didn't gel well with my brain. But it does work, obviously, because we know, as Michael said, the witches can do that. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a good section.
Yeah, that's grand. So the next part is the second part of Bolvangar. So starts with chapter 14, Bolvangar Lights. The ship is attacked, and some men who identify themselves as hunters kidnap Lyra, and they take her to be traded for coin. Lyra is inspected to see if her demon can still change. Then she is taken to a nurse and keeps telling them that her name is Lizzie. She is taken to see other children and in the compound, and is told that they're always measuring dust and conducting tests. Lyra hears Mrs. Coulter sometimes comes, as she likes to watch the experiments. We get chapter 15, The Demon Cages. Lyra finds Roger within the compound and speaks with him. She also finds Billy Costa and spends more time in the compound. They experiment on her, and she asks if it's about dust. And they ask her, how does she know about dust? Other children are outside during a drill, playing snowballs, when Billy, Roger and Lyra sneak away to investigate. The ghost demon shows up and says everyone is okay, so Lyra knows everyone else on the ship is fine. They find the cages and the severed demons inside and cut them out, and they follow Goose. A zeppelin descends and Miss Coulter emerges out of it with her golden monkey. Chapter 16, The Silver Guillotine. Lyra crawls through the vent to spy on them. She overhears speaking, and then Mrs. Coulter leaves and two men hear Lyra. They get her down and put her into the mesh cages, and Pan in the other. And then Lyra, there's this repeated kind of struggle to get out, and Lyra reunites with Pan, and only to be separated again. And she is about to be severed until Mrs. Coulter re-enters and sets her free. Chapter 17, The Witches. Mrs. Coulter tries to get the alethiometer from Lyra, and she instead gives her that little tin with the spy bug inside, which it had previously been mentioned had been squashed down to the same size as the alethiometer. She opens it, and the bug causes chaos. Lyra escapes and hits the alarm, and there's a fire caused, and it spreads through the station. The rescue force with the Egyptians and the witches arrive and attack the Tartars. The golden monkey attacks Pan, but Lyra manages to escape with Roger and Yorick in Lee Scaresby's balloon. Serafina Pekkala flies alongside them and informs them that the Egyptians are destroying down the station now, but the compound, but there's no sign of Mrs. Coulter. Lyra states her plan to free Lord Azrael, and Serafina Pekkala said she will talk to Lyra when she's awake. And that concludes that part 2, the Bolvangar. So go to you again first, Jason.
Yeah, I thought this was a stronger section. I think this starts to lead us into quite a strong ending for the book. The whole sort of section with Lyra being captured by the gobblers, that whole sort of section, and like the sort of threat of her about to be experimented on but then being rescued by Miss Coulter, again I felt was quite strong. The escape from Bolvangar, again good section. I just feel like the tension's really ramped up in this section. I feel like the excitement levels have gone up. We get sort of introduced to the witch clan. I feel like slightly more mysterious members, I suppose. I have said I did like most characters. I maybe the character of Serafina Pekkala I didn't find was just fleshed out maybe as much as the rest of them. I don't know if you would agree or not with that, Mike. But yeah, I felt this was a a strong section, definitely.
Yeah, Jonathan.
Yeah, this section definitely picks up a lot for me. I think I get a lot of excitement in this. Starting with Lyra getting captured. It's very similar again to what happens earlier on, although this isn't like the Gobblers, but it's kind of like, you know, people going around capturing children again. I think we get a good bit where she first arrives there and she kind of sees that this nurse, it's kind of like this little small foreshadow of like this nurse and her demon, like this nurse being very just blank expression, kind of not much going on up there essentially. And it's kind of a bit strange, and Lyra's kind of like, oh, what the hell's like wrong with this woman? But yeah, she gets put on the eye and she kind of makes friends. And then she finds out Roger is here, Billy Costa, and you get a lot of description about there's the girls and boys are segregated, but they kind of sometimes get to hang out together. She's obviously going on to the CLS trying to hide her identity, but then she finds out that Mrs. Coulter's going to be knocking around anytime soon. So now this, again, more sense of urgency with that. And then I think the best thing about this is finding out about what the experiments actually are, with the whole separating the children from their demons. I guess you don't get much of why they're doing it here, but it is something that's like, you know, Lyra cannot believe that they're doing this, and it's like, how can this be good no matter what they're doing this for? And I think Mrs. Coulter tries to explain it there, but Lyra is smart and doesn't believe it, and escapes and does the whole setting the fire alarm off thing. And then you get a lot of chaos then with them escaping. I think when the Egyptians arrive, I think it's like the children are trying to get out and like Lyra's leading them, and then there's like the armed guards coming and they're like basically taking aim. And then out of nowhere, I think one of them gets hit with an arrow, and then that's when the attack starts. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. And there's a lot of chaos, and then they basically get away on Lee Scoresby's balloon. I think just to talk, the character Serafina Pekkala is quite a strange character. I think you get a little bit, maybe you didn't quite cover it yet, but like a bit of like who she is and stuff then. And the next bit where she's traveling alongside the balloon, but I still find her quite a strange character, and I don't really understand what's going on with the witches, because is the witches one like clan and they're either good or bad, or is there like multiple clans? I don't really understand that, so maybe one of you can help me out.
I think there are multiple clans of witches.
So like, because is there ones attacking? There's ones that are basically helping Lyra on their side, and then there's other ones that have been like on Mrs. Coulter or been hired by the Ablation Board or something like that.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's right, because it kind of just says like the witches, and then I get lost in like whose side they're on, whereas you don't really get like a sense of, there's the black witches and then the red witches or whatever. Like there's no like way to distinguish between them. It's just the witches. Confused me a little bit, but yeah, I think that the witches are definitely an interesting and very mysterious kind of race added into this. But yeah, I really enjoyed this section. I thought the whole stuff in the lab was very well done, and the reveal of what the experiment is quite scary as well. Again, kind of quite dark in the description, that it's basically she kind of realizes that's what happened to the nurse, that her demon was severed. So it's like you get this pet, but you're not emotionally connected anymore, and it basically essentially just removes someone's soul or their feelings or whatever, and just makes them more or less dead inside. It's quite terrifying. So yeah, enjoyed that.
Yeah, Stephen?
I don't really have anything to add. It was just kind of more of the same for me. A bit gloomy. Nothing really more to say.
So part 3, Svalbard. So these 6 chapters, I'm just going to do these all together because it gets the end of the book and chapters tend to be shorter. So chapter 18, Fog and Ice. Lyra, Lee, Serafina and Yorick go through the fog. Serafina tells Lyra that Yorick was banished and the new king, who is behaving more human, is there instead. Clift Ghasts attack and Lyra is separated from the group. She's found by armoured bears who tell her that she's now prisoner. Chapter 19, Captivity. Lyra is prisoner with a professor. She asks to see Yoffer and says it's urgent. She then pretends to be Yorick's demon, but convinces him that if he can beat Yorick in combat, then he can attain her. She tells him he needs to tell his subjects to fight for the throne. He agrees to see Yorick. Chapter 20, an outrance. Yorick and Joffre fight a bloody battle. Eventually, Yorick kills him and eats his heart, becoming king. Roger shows up and tells her they all got separated. They eat some seal kidneys and blubber. Soon they meet Yorick as king now, and he thanks Lyra, dubbing her Lyra Silvertongue. They learn the Alethiometer that Mrs. Coulter wants to kill Lord Asriel to do it first. Yorick agrees to go after Lord Asriel with them. Chapter 21, Lord Asriel's Welcome. Lyra goes to meet Lord Asriel in his very opulent and cosy prison. He is distressed to see her at first, but calms when he sees Roger, which worries Roger. Lyra speaks to him about her travels and confronts him about being her father. He says, "So what?" And she gets angry, saying he doesn't love her and that she doesn't love him either. He explains at length about dust, how it is particles which the church believe is evidence of the original sin, Adam and Eve tempted by sex. Tells her that they're failing to harness the enormous energy expelled by the cut, so that he intends to use that energy. Chapter 22, Betrayal. Lyra is woken and she sees Lord Asriel has left with Roger. She pursues him on Yorick's back, while Miss Coulter's Zeppelin invades with the witches, and they begin attacking the armoured bears. They fight back, and then she says goodbye to Yorick and separates from him. Chapter 23, The Bridge to the Stars. Lyra makes it up the hill. She sees her father, severed Roger to harness his energy to power the crossing. Sees her father and mother embracing. Father says that he's going to destroy the source of dust. Pantalaimon convinces Lyra that if they hate dust, then it must be good, and they need to save it. So then she crosses the bridge to go pursue her father. And that's how the book ends. I'll go to you, Jason.
That was a very, very quick run through the last few chapters. Yeah, I felt it was a strong ending to the book. I felt this whole sort of section was exciting. I would say well paced. I quite liked the fight between Yorick and the other armoured bear. I then liked the sort of aftermath of that, like running to rescue Lord Asriel. I suppose we already knew at this stage he maybe wasn't needing rescued, but yeah, the big plot twist for me. I suppose I wasn't expecting him to. I wasn't expecting to be such a dick when I first seen Lyra, but I suppose we sort of find out why he was being a bit of a dick once he's sacrificed Roger, essentially. You know, that he needed a child to harvest the dust, I suppose, to get through to the next world. I felt it was quite exciting, quite a good way to end the book because it really sets up the next story. I felt it was a very, very strong ending. I suppose I don't really know how I feel about the characters of Mrs. Coulter and Lord Asriel now. Like, is he... I don't know if he's necessarily a villain because he seems to be doing it for good reasons, but he has also just killed a child and then gave up Mrs. Coulter. I wasn't entirely sure of her intentions. Like, was the Gobblers a whole big thing to sort of assist Lord Asriel secretly? Like, they all sort of had the same aims. I wasn't entirely sure where people's intentions lay by the end of this book, but I felt it was a very strong ending. It has made me want to follow up with the sequels.
Yeah, cool. Jonathan?
Agree, Jason, there. Very, very strong ending. Very, very confusing in terms of I don't know what they think. Like, was extremely surprised by the whole Lord Asriel more or less being a bad guy. Like, I know, again, there's this confliction of, well, is he doing this bad thing for the right reasons? But then you could say that about Mrs. Coulter as well. But then also like the demons, I think, obviously play a big part in this in terms of that's kind of, you know, if you have like a bad demon or a demon that's like a bad animal or whatever, like say like somebody has a snake, like, you know, you associate a snake with, you know, the devil or whatever. So it's like that person's probably a bad person. That's kind of like Mrs. Coulter's demon's this golden monkey, which again, monkeys are kind of associated with being mischievous and stuff like that. So again, it fits her. But then his Lord Asriel's is like this leopard. It's supposed to be this very graceful kind of creature, very powerful, strong, and I know he is all those things. But then he's just kind of almost like backstab layer. He doesn't really care about her at all, and yeah, he just wants to discover what's going on in this other world and will do anything to get there. I thought it was brilliant, but yeah, it's made me like, yeah, I don't know what to feel about it. Definitely going to continue watching the TV show to find out what happens. I think of the TV show, you have that other character that hasn't been revealed yet, so which like just getting into spoilers, they like go to the modern world so you can see, because I didn't really understand from this book until I watched the show what the kind of setting of the world was, like what kind of time period and stuff. I know they talked a lot about Zeppelins and all like that, but it's very much this kind of a dystopian world, but also kind of like a lot of opposites of what we have in like normal society. I'm not sure if that's what the TV show's just done, or is that what the book described in the second book. I guess I'll find out. But no, I thought the ending was very strong. Again, it's one of those ones that now I have to kind of go to the next. It's not a self-contained story. It's left me with more questions than answers, which is both a good and a bad thing for me. But yeah, I thought overall very strong ending.
Yeah, the second book, it begins with like the first chapter is like the introductory to that character we're alluding to, and it's kind of like seen as a big like what the fuck moment. So I think it was like an intentional kind of disorientation, kind of, whereas I think the TV the makers of the TV show thought that viewing audience wouldn't have the sort of patience for that kind of twist, or to not know what was going on. So they thought it would be better to show what's going on straight away. Yeah, Stephen?
Again, not much to add. I kind of agree with what the two guys were saying there. The only thing I would say is I was suspicious of Lord Asriel the whole time. Like, I think it's sprinkled throughout all these things that he does, and you just get a sense that he's a bad guy and he's doing something dodgy, like. So I wasn't surprised by what he did at the end. But yeah, the other feelings that the guys were saying, would echo those. I do think it was a strong ending.
Star rating. So I suppose I'll go into my star rating then. So I sort of let it known from the start. And I suppose through the review, I maybe had a few gripes, but I felt it was a positive experience, and I am keen to sort of continue on with the series. I came into this, I was sort of leaning between like maybe even like a 6.5 up to a 7, but I feel like talking through it, I feel like actually, you know what, I maybe did have a better time with this book than I remember. So I'm going to bump it up to a 7.5, you know, between a like and a strong like. I don't know if I would quite go towards a strong like, but as I say, I did have a good time with the book overall, despite a few minor gripes.
Yeah, no worries, Jonathan.
Overall, I like the book. I think that the best thing about this book, I think, is the characters. As Jason said, there's not one bad character in it or one character that I didn't like. I can't fully explain it, but there are some bits that just didn't excite me as much. I've kind of touched on a few as we went through for examples, and not to say I didn't hate those parts, they just kind of, I don't know, it just didn't maybe flow as well as I would have hoped. Like, it was maybe a bit of more up and down, but inconsistent, maybe is the best word. But I think the ending of this is definitely one of the stronger endings on a lot of the books we've done. Like, the ending can, you know, make or break a book for me, and this one's definitely on the stronger and has left me wanting to find out the answers, and I'll definitely be continuing with the series. But yeah, overall I liked it. I'm the same as Jason's, in between a like and a strong like, so I'm 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, no bother. Stephen?
Yeah, overall, no surprise. I didn't like it. I don't know. It's kind of what Johnny was saying. I felt it was a bit inconsistent at times, and then, like I alluded to at the start, there was a lot of things just thrown in a lot of the time, and It was a lot, like, it had a long run time, not super long, but long enough for things to be kind of explored without jumping ahead to the next thing, do you know? And that nature jumping around doesn't mesh well with my brain. I like to just get deep into something before going to the next thing, and I feel like all the different fantasy concepts were just thrown together. But I can see why people like it, and I think if I read this as like a young adult, I would have loved it, and I don't know why I didn't. Like, I can't put it into words why I couldn't properly get into it at all. I don't know, but I didn't like it, so I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, as I said, it's a book that I really love. It's one of my top 10 probably. I think it's a really fun adventure book. I think it's got a cast of really compelling characters. I think Lyra is a really excellent. She's one of my favorite protagonists of all time. I think she's really funny. I like the balance between because she like, it's obviously that fantasy trope of the chosen one that she falls into, like the Harry Potter and everything does it. All the YA books kind of did it in the 90s especially, and she falls into that as well. I think she's probably one of the best examples of it, when it's done well. I think it's done a lot more subtly with her, and she's not like invulnerable because of it or anything. I really love the world building. I think it just does the good balance between subtlety and depth. Like, I think it's similar to The Hobbit in that regards, where it can go quite swiftly by. Like, each chapter is kind of introducing something new and showing a different aspect of the world, but you can tell that there's a lot of thought and there's a lot of the world kind of functions as a world and it makes sense as a world. It's not like a mishmash. And the plot, I think I really like the whole rescue mission aspect of it, and I like that that's only like the 75% mark of the book, that there's a whole nother kind of climactic section after that involving Yorick and Yoffre, and then with Lord Asriel and everything. And I really find the themes of the book fascinating, what it says about like how religion would see sexuality as sinful. It's a very interesting kind of theme to explore, especially within a young adult's books. I think it's a good theme to have younger readers reading about, because obviously there's a lot of a big slant towards the Christian aspect and Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia especially, and I actually do like the religious elements in Lord of the Rings, where I think it's a bit, if you read like Narnia as an adult, I think it's a bit ham-fisted kind of. It's too much, you know. But I like the subtlety with the way it's done in Lord of the Rings, so I'm not like opposed to that in books. But I think it's important to get people asking questions, especially at that kind of formative age of like 11, 12, 13, which I think is probably the starting readership of this book. I would say younger than that, it might go over younger children's head a bit, but smarter 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds probably would grasp it. And Philip Pullman's writing, again, I think it's he's one of the, I think fantasy writers kind of struggle with their prose a bit. You've got like very workman prose and a lot of fantasy, like Robert Jordan, and even though I love him, Brandon Sanderson's not like he's not James Joyce. Like he's people don't read Sanderson for his prose, like they read it for the big plots, the big sweeping epic plots. But I think Philip Pullman does have like a literary standard of prose within this book. So yeah, I really love the book. So personally, it's a 10 for me.
Yeah, I think you made some interesting points there, Michael. I think the comparison to The Hobbit, just when you said it there, I feel like I would agree with the sort of pacing that is very similar to The Hobbit, and just sort of this grand adventure with like a big potential like battle at the end. I suppose it's quite interesting. And yeah, I'd probably agree with you between what you said about sort of Sanderson and Pullman. You sort of come to those books for two different reasons. I suppose it maybe shows what I like more in a book, in that I maybe enjoy the just the actual epic plot sometimes rather than how beautifully written things are, because I would agree that Philip Pullman, the prose and just how things are written is really well written. Definitely some beautiful language in this, like, so.
Yeah.
Might I add, or might I come in with the question I hinted I was going to ask earlier? So if you weren't, if you were a child in this world and you weren't abducted by the gobblers and you got to grow up, what would you want your demon to settle as?
Sever me. No. I was trying to think about this after you said it. I want something functional, like something that can do things for me, but I don't know what.
Yeah, because remember, demons, there's obviously this whole thing right here that demons can't touch people. Well, they shouldn't anyway, and it's like frowned upon and like can hurt people. But so they're only, it's like you're doing for so like say you wanted a lion, it's only good for fighting other demons. Like, but then I suppose that could be a reason. Like, it's like Pokemon where you don't fight yourselves, you get your monsters to fight for you.
Can I have like a really big bird that can take me places?
I think the rule is that it's more or less an animal from our world. Because like otherwise I would obviously choose a dragon.
Show me dragon.
I think there is a mention of Pantalaimon turning into a dragon, is there not?
Is there?
I think so. He's mostly an ermine in this book. He's an ermine a lot of the times.
Like a ferret kind of thing?
I think
Yeah.
at one point it turns into like a dragon very briefly.
I did ask DeepSeek. I gave them some descriptions of each of you, and it gave me demons for each of you. I didn't do it for myself, though. I forgot to do it for myself.
We'll go for it.
So, Jason, it gave you a raven. I didn't stipulate that it should be like a what type of animal. I just said,
I can see that though for him.
Yeah.
Jonathan, it's specifically give you a grey wolf.
Oh, nice. I am Rob Stark.
And Stephen, it gave you a bull.
Oh, nice.
For some reason.
Shagging.
What did you actually tell it about us? Like, what was the description?
I don't want to give the descriptions because in case you're offended, but...
Nah, fuck it, just do it. Fuck, who
Leak the
cares?
descriptions.
I only give the positive things, like, but... I should have done myself as well, like.
Oh, give the descriptions. I'm not gonna...
Jason, you got a panther because panthers are sleek, intelligent, and carry a quiet, powerful presence, reflecting his calm yet striking personality.
I thought you said he was a raven.
Panther?
Yeah.
I thought you said I got a raven.
Why does it say panther? It says black. Alternatively, if you're looking for a non-bird option, a black panther could also suit him. And with there, I'll read the raven description. Their mysterious, slightly dark aura, which aligns with his dark sensibilities.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
My dark sensibilities.
Jonathan, grey wolves are highly intelligent and strategic, often working quietly and efficiently, which matches Jonathan's thoughtful demeanour.
That's could have said it better myself.
Stephen, bulls are traditionally seen as strong, dependable, and grounded, which matches Stephen's reliable nature.
Sweet.
If I was choosing for myself, I would probably want something that flies like an eagle, because I feel like you could use it to spy better on things. Like, Assassin's Creed fucking Origin style.
I didn't ask it. I didn't give it a description for me. I just said do one for me, and it gave me a fox.
So what about comparisons to other media then?
Michael mentioned Narnia, and that's the one I was going to bring up. I did get a lot of Narnia vibes from this, and I thought it was interesting.
Definitely.
I thought it was interesting there in his rating where he what was it you said? You mentioned about how like reading Narnia as an adult, it's kind of hard to. I don't know if he says hard to get into or if it's hard to like. I can't remember what you said, but
It's very heavy-handed of its like metaphor.
that's it, yeah. And I kind of thought those feelings towards this book, so I totally agree about Narnia. What you said, because I have read Narnia since I was a teenager, and I got those exact feelings. So when I said earlier that if I read this book when I was a teenager, I probably would have loved it, like Narnia.
Yeah, definitely Narnia. Like, I mean, I guess she's just about to step through the portal in this to the other world at the end of this book. But yeah, I mean, it's got everything. The strong female protagonist.
A guy from The Guardian, I think, or some kind of publication said this is basically like the opposite or the counter argument or like the atheist argument of the Narnia. I don't actually think Philip Pullman is an atheist. I tried to look up like his beliefs, and it seems like he might be agnostic actually. So, but it was hard to. There was some conflicting information about that, but. And I also read some interesting things where he may still believe in like other spiritual worlds, which kind of, you know, where the series goes kind of makes sense if he believes something like that. So I think it's an interesting area thematically where the book and the series as a whole kind of explores. Yeah, I think it's almost, I would agree with that. It's almost like the inverse of Narnia. It's like a counter argument kind of, because Narnia is very like the good versus evil, the black and white views, you know. And
yeah, the other thing I wanted to say is it's kind of also trivia, but just talking about the movie The Golden Compass. I think I read something there about George R. R. Martin said that seeing The Golden Compass helped him make up his mind to not make Game of Thrones into a movie and a TV show instead. I guess because it's very hard to explain the whole story over, you know, just a movie. But yeah, because as in The Golden Compass was one of those, you know, big cast and all that kind of thing, and supposed to be amazing, and then it completely flopped. But then the actual series, his Dark Materials, has been really well received, so it just shows like that, you know, if the story, for stories like this, it is better to do a TV show.
Yeah, Ian McKellen and Daniel Craig and Christopher Lee, and yeah, it has a good cast on The Golden Compass, but I've never seen it, but I've just heard it's bad, yeah.
I think from a lot of, like, from the little I know about making films and TV shows, I feel like the studios get really involved in big films like this, or films are supposed to be really big like this, and they end up messing it up as well as also the limited runtime.
Well, I sort of mentioned I'd watched the TV show. I did watch the whole way through. I enjoyed the TV show. Same slight gripes I had with the book. I probably did like that it sort of brought in elements from the second book, because you're probably right. They probably did feel like TV audiences maybe couldn't handle the random new characters just appearing. So I like how it was sort of drip fed in via the TV show.
And that character is pretty scary as well. The one, he's like a level above Mrs. Coulter. Like,
have you read the books, Johnny, or you seen the films?
No, I've watched I've watched like 4 or 5 episodes of the first season of the TV show, so I've seen that character.
Oh, that guy. Sorry, I was very confused who you meant. Oh, yes. Aye. Sorry, I thought you were on about the wee lad.
Yeah, I've watched the first 4 or 5 episodes. I've just kind of gone wild bad at watching TV shows. Like, it takes me ages, so I never got to finish. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, so I'll probably watch one a week. But I'll probably finish this TV show before, like, you know, all seasons, before I'd read the second book. But yeah, I'm enjoying the TV show.
Yeah, so that's my episode done. Stephen, if you want to go next and reveal what you're picking for the next book.
Sure, yeah, I had this picked since I picked my last book, so yeah, I'm going to go with Golden Sun, which is the second book in the Red Rising trilogy. So again, it's by Pierce Brown, and it's the one that's narrated by Tim Gerard Reynolds.
So your next pick is the sequel to the first pick in
this year? Yep.
Sorry, I was actually only sort of half paying attention there. I didn't realise you just picked the sequel.
Do we do? You want to do a guess on the plot? Just you're not allowed, obviously.
I just don't get to guess anything these days. Yeah.
Stop being so into things. We'll do a plot guess. I'll give a quick synopsis of the last book, like kind of the ending. So the first book was about Daryl, who's a red slave of Mars, and he has successfully infiltrated the Golds, and he's also won his year at the Institute, which is like a school for the Golds where they go and kill each other and kind of have to dominate one another. So he's won that, and as a result of that, the people who succeed kind of get offered apprenticeships among the society, and then they can go off and grow their careers and so on. So as like the winner, as the arch primus, it's called, he basically has a pick of all the apprenticeships, and surprisingly he chooses to go with the arch governor of Mars, who is the father of two people that were in the institute with him. So one being his like main rival, and the other one being his biggest ally. But also the arch governor was the one who killed his wife when he was still a red. So it was a bit surprising that he goes with him. But yeah, that's kind of where we left off the last book. So Michael and Jonathan, what do you think is going to happen in this next chapter of the series?
Well, is it Golden Sun SU or SON?
SON.
I feel like it is going to be about Darrow coming in, and the other son is the mental one that's his rival. I feel like he'll become more of a son to the arch. What do you call him? The arch what?
Arch governor.
Yeah, the arch governor. He'll like kind of take over as his son, because the governor doesn't really like the other one because he's a nutcase or whatever, and can like see him, getting together with his daughter, who's like his greatest ally, because I think that was like hinted at heavily in the previous one. I guess being then another maybe twist that I'll guess at is like that is like a lot of the book will be on that, and then obviously Darrow's still probably going to be looking for revenge. I think he is probably aiming at a larger kind of take out the gold and save all the reds, but I think his ego or whatever will get in the way, and the thirst for revenge will get in the way, and he'll end up either killing or trying to kill the arch governor, in which case the role will then be reversed where his son comes back into it to become the actual Golden Sun again.
Nice. Yeah, good. Michael?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Darrow going to live with the arch governor's family and being part of his like coterie or whatever, and being kind of integrated into that kind of life and having to learn how to live as one of them without being caught. And I think that's going to be more of a political intrigue kind of thing for a while in the plot, where he has to navigate the political system between the houses as a kind of and he also has to like kind of up the ranks with the arch governor and become kind of his main man, is kind of what his arc would be through the book. And I guess there'll be more kind of the fighting between the houses and the kind of political system and the nature of that.
You said the kind of there like loads of times there. I remember you telling us what the things we say a lot is. Yours was kind of.
Yeah.
I think that was two good guesses there. Jason, what do you think?
I thought they were both very good guesses. Yeah. Quite proud of both those guesses. They were quite impressive.
Alright, so again, that's Golden Sun by Pierce Brown, narrated by Tim Jared Reynolds.
We'll go on to what else are we consuming. I'll just keep the same order for the sake of simplicity. So, Jason, do you want to go first on what else you're consuming?
Yeah, I feel like I've not done one of these in a while because I've sort of sneaked off early a couple times recently. What have I been consuming? I have finished the first 3 books in the Mistborn series. Yeah, they were great. I read those. I haven't listened to those. I can imagine. I know Stephen had gripes listening to the first book, but I can imagine it would be potentially a difficult listen because there's a lot going on, and I feel like I definitely enjoyed the experience more, or imagine I will have enjoyed the experience more reading it rather than listening to it. I have been probably watching a lot more TV recently. I've not played any PlayStation or anything. I have watched all of season 3 of Invincible. Loved the first season. Didn't really love the second season that much, but I've really liked the third season. Felt it was very strong. There's a lot of quite famous voices in it. I would say maybe the actual animations are maybe not 100% all the time.
I've heard some things about the animation, yeah.
Yeah, the animation's not great. I feel like most of the budget goes towards getting the celebrities into the voices.
Was it a GIF or was it a short? I can't remember, but it was like some scene where there's like a big line of people and he's battering them or something, but it just, if you slow it down, it's just like PNGs of different people.
I think there's quite a lot of that, and fair enough. I think there is quite a lot of that. Yeah, but you watch it for the plot, in fairness. I think it's a very well written story. And I've started watching the new Daredevil Born Again, which I think is very, very good also. It's not all superhero shows I watch. Watching White Lotus season 3 with Mary Kate. It's quite good. I've actually never watched the first 2 seasons, but I don't think there's a lot of carryover. Maybe I'm wrong. I know there's definitely a plot point, but I'm sort of caught up on that from the second season. But it's a good TV show. And my current book I'm reading is actually one Michael's mentioned before. I just happened to come across it in the bookshop and thought, yeah, fuck it, I'll pick this up. It is The Troop. I can't remember to get the author's name. I think I say it's something by Nick someone. I've read like the first 50 pages of that. I can see it being a very harrowing experience, and I am very much taking my time trying to get into that book because it is seeming quite grim.
Yeah, Nick Cutter.
Nick Cutter. I knew it was Nick something. Yeah. Would you agree with my guess that it's going to be a very grim experience?
I read it during like the run of like the darkest books. Like I was going through, and it was like, it was definitely up there. Like it was one of the most messed up ones, definitely.
Yeah, I'm only like 50 pages in, and I'm just like, this is going to be violent.
It's not a American Psycho, like, but nothing is American Psycho, but it's. But yeah, it's up there. Like it's up there.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, I guess I'll go. I've been continuing my playthrough of the Assassin's Creeds. I finished Black Flag there. Great game. I'm playing one that I never actually really heard too much about now, Assassin's Creed Rogue. It's basically more or less the exact, like it takes a lot from Black Flag. I think it's set between Black Flag and Assassin's Creed 3, so it takes a lot from both of those games. But yeah, I'm enjoying it for having never really heard much about it. Almost finished it, and then I'll be moving on to Unity, which is the one set during, I think, the French Revolution or something like that, which I never played as well. So moving on to that in terms of gaming.
Just to cut in there, sorry Johnny, I know you don't buy games brand new, but I see the new Assassin's Creed is getting really good reviews, actually.
Yeah, so I've heard
it. The samurai one?
Yeah, it's set in Japan. Daniel, my housemate, is just bought one of the new, or most recent generation Xbox just for that game, more or less.
Oh, really?
Well, he needed to upgrade anyway because we play FIFA, and like FIFA is a completely different game on the newer console. Like it's crazy. But yeah,
is it really?
It's like it's madness.
It's the same game for the last 25 years.
Yeah, in terms of reading, I've been reading. I've got some physical books. I just read there. I got like these wee ones from like TK Maxx. You know, they have a wee book section and just like really cheap. I got these wee money-er ones, and one was The Art of War, that one by Sun Tzu. I've listened to it before audiobook-wise, but I've never read it, so I got that. You know, it's only like 100 pages, so blasted through it. Pretty good book, definitely recommend. I've moved on to another one that I got, another small one, which is, it's basically like this classics section. That's what all these wee books are. It's the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. So it's like this one where this guy wakes up one day and he's been turned into like this giant like bug, and it's kind of like about, it's supposed to be like very metaphorical and stuff, but it's basically like him getting through life as this bug now. So it's quite funny, but also like got a lot of like underlying messages and stuff like that. But it's like one of those classic books. So I'm going to read that. It's also quite short. I think it's like 120 pages, something like that. So I'll play for that. Yeah, just one thing that I want to add that I've been kind of working on, and this kind of goes under the plugs as well, but I'm actually going over to London now at the weekend on Sunday. I'm actually going over, I've kind of made it a wee 3-day holiday of me and Kira, but on the Tuesday then I'm actually giving a presentation at like a meetup, of like kind of based on the blogs that I've mentioned here before. So I've been kind of working on that a lot. By the time this is out, I'll already have done it, but the video will probably be somewhere on YouTube, so I can maybe share that in a future episode. But yeah, quite excited about that. Just going to London in general as well. Been there once before. It's pretty good. So yeah, that's me.
Stephen?
Yeah, so I can't remember where I was the last episode, but I'm pretty sure I was talking about watching all of the Star Wars shows and everything through. I finished the Bad Batch and it was class. I think that's might have been where I was the last episode. And then I watched all of Kenobi and it was good. But then I moved on to Rebels and it was terrible. And I got stuck. It's so bad, just not good of a show. It's definitely aimed at younger audiences, the Disney show, but it's just not good. So I'm stuck there, but I'm gonna try and power through and finish it. Severance, I think a lot of people are watching that at the minute. Of course, season 2's out. It's great. I'm behind, but it's very, very good. I watched Legend, you know, that film about the Cray twins where Tom Hardy plays both of them. And I actually thought it was brilliant. Really good film. Pair of Psychos, but it was a good film. And then I've been watching a lot of old Would I Lie to You episodes. It's just a really good watch. I don't know, good pilot show. And that's pretty much it. I've losing time as the days go on. So
did you finish Daima?
I did finish Daima. I forgot about that.
So did I, actually. I also forgot about that.
Good man. It broke canon, but I loved it.
It broke what?
It broke
broke canon.
Dragon Ball Super canon, but I loved it. Fuck Super.
Yeah.
Daima was good. It was
quite enjoyed
the
it.
perfect series, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was very good.
Don't know what the crack was with the bugs though. What was it about now?
It's a wee teaser that never happened. Yeah.
I heard people saying it might be because they're going to do a film at the end, which like they're going to bring out soon, that kind of bridges that gap and repairs the canon, and also they use the bugs or something. You know. Anyway,
right.
It was a very good series.
Yeah, I liked it.
And that's kind of everything for me. As I said, I don't get a lot of time to consume things anymore. Just Would I Lie to You and World of Warcraft.
You were playing even during the podcast.
I was not. Discord's lying. Actually, I would tell you if I was.
I believe you.
Yeah, I've just been feeling in a bit of a funk the last month, so struggling really to pay attention to things and stuff. But I did start White Lotus season 3, which is a show that I watched the first 2 seasons of. So we watched the first couple of episodes and enjoying it. I watched the first season of Severance as well. Thought it was really good. I haven't started second season yet, but
what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought the ending was really good, and yeah, I was raging it because I kind of only finished it last night, so I wanted to watch more, but had to go to sleep. So
you're lucky you don't have to wait for another season. So
yeah.
I do plan on watching that, but I haven't got round to it yet.
But what's the crack with the goats, Michael? Huh?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just wanted the answers, but yeah, I was still left wanting at the end of it. But yeah, no, I haven't been able to do much so. Just that I've been trying to get back into running and stuff, but just pushing it off a bit. So, but hopefully as we go on.
Did you do that marathon there?
The 10 mile. No, I wouldn't be fit enough to do that right now. I'm kind of out of practice. So, but I think Walker did it. He was texting me. But yeah, that's it for me.
So part 2 of the Red Rising series then.
Yeah, enjoy.
How many hours are we talking then on that?
I think it's about 18.
It's long enough, remember?
It's 19 hours and 3 minutes.
Probably about 17 then when I listen to it a wee slightly faster. That's grand.